So hello everyone, good evening all. Preetham, welcome you all to this journal club series.
Your audio is breaking, Preetham.
So I want
Preetham, your audio is breaking.
and also today's topic is on plant-based diet and their role, how going to reduce the metabolic syndrome.
Hello. Hello. Now you're audible, yes. Yeah, now you're audible, Preetham.
Hello. Just a sec. I think voice is little less. Now?
Yes, you're audible. Yes, please.
Yes, yes, you're audible. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. Sorry for the interruption. So I welcome you all for the today's topic, that is plant-based diet and their role on how to reduce the metabolic syndrome. So every day we come across like maybe an article in the newspaper or maybe in the social media platforms, so that how that is India is facing that rise in this metabolic syndrome. Like 1 in 3 Indians, they are suffering from the metabolic syndrome. So, and also from the past a few decades, I think it's been rising from 10% to as high as 84%. So that's what the prevalence rate we can see. And also we can say that metabolic syndrome is what a cluster of like risk factors. So in that also, where universally they have accepted that two are the major cause. One is the insulin resistance and the other is the central obesity. So so as a healthcare professionals, it's being our responsibility like to explore and the strategies how to mitigate this metabolic syndrome. So today's let us delve into the topic of this, how the plant-based is going to be or as a promising factor to reduce this metabolism. So I think this is that first JC of 2025. Okay, and the thing is, most of the medical students come up.
Okay, I
I think,
guess there was some connectivity issue from Dr. Preetham. I think Srinidhi, introduction will be done by Suleiman, right? You can take
yes,
over.
sir. We'll just okay. So thank you everyone for joining us. Just continuing what Preetham ma'am was telling that this is the first journal club of 2025, and we've got a complete new reform into the way we are doing this JCs, because now we are targeting most of the medical students because we want the change right from the beginning of the medical fraternity to be begin with the medical students. So this is the first Journal Club of 2025. It's almost 1 year, 1 month completed. Belated Happy New Year to everyone present here. So this is the 17th Journal Club. just to give a very brief introduction of PAN, so Physician Association of Nutrition was begun in September of 2022, and it was begun by our director, headed by director Dr. Ratina Shahin, and it includes a lot of people in this group, right from the medical students, we are leading the GSCs, and up to the practicing doctors. And as you all know, that the team is growing. Any one of you who's interested can always reach out to us. We will welcome you with open hands. So to move with today's JC, as we can see, the topic here is the association between plant-based diet indices and metabolic syndrome. So this is a systematic review and dose-response meta-analysis. From the topic, we understand that it's plant-based diet indices. So this is quite a complex thing, might be a new thing for few of you, but then we'll make it easy for you all to understand. Moving on, just an introduction. So, what's metabolic syndrome? It's quite a common thing, but just to have a recap for all of us, metabolic syndrome is a very common comorbidity we see today. And what are the things, a brief idea so that we have is that there should be a person choose the metabolic syndrome criteria if he qualifies any of the three of these, which is high blood pressure, elevated blood sugar levels, hypertriglyceridemia, low HDL levels, and excess abdominal weight. Now, from the topic, coming back to the topic, we saw plant-based diet indices. So what we understand from plant-based diet indices is that the reason we took this article is that there are multiple articles showing that plant-based diets have proven to show negative results or results that we do not expect from plant-based diets. So what is bringing these negative results is that plant-based diet is a huge umbrella term. Like you always say, plant-based diet is not always healthy. Animal-based diet is not always healthy, but what in the plant-based diet is going to give you a healthy result? And that's what brings in the plant-based diet. So it was a graded system for each of the food items. Because for if you see potato chips, those are also plant-based. There's no animal content. There's no other type of content in it. But then it's not healthy for us. So to get this discrepancies out, there was a grading system which was begun in 2016 called as the plant-based diet indices. Now, plant-based food was classified into an overall plant-based diet, a healthy plant-based diet, and an unhealthy plant-based diet. Next slide, please. Yes. So here we can see that there is overall plant-based diet, a healthy plant-based diet, and an unhealthy plant-based diet. These are the plant-based diet indices. An overall plant-based diet includes everything. It's just the same as a plant-based diet is the umbrella term. But then a healthy plant-based diet includes the good things of a plant-based diet, which is whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, vegetable oils. But since I mentioned earlier, even a plant-based diet is unhealthy when we take the unhealthy items in it. Potato chips, unhealthy. Any refined food, unhealthy. Refined grains, unhealthy. And a lower consumption of healthy plant-based foods with more consumption of unhealthy plant-based foods is again going to change the results that we expect. Now, so that we delve better into the paper and we understand what it's better understanding, I'll ask forward this to Srinidhi so that we can understand what type of paper this is, how many papers are selected, what was the search strategy, what were the inclusion and exclusion criteria, so that we have a better understanding. Over to you, Srinidhi.
Yeah, thank you, Suleiman. So this study basically was systematically investigated the relationship between dietary patterns and metabolic syndrome. The research was registered in Prospero and it adhered to the rigorous, MOOS guidelines for reporting. A comprehensive literature search was conducted across major databases like Scopus, PubMed, and Web of Science, resulting in the identification of around 253 relevant studies published between 2016 and 2023. The study basically focused on observational studies, including case control cohort and cross-section design involving adults aged 18 years and older. A total of 9 studies encompassing 34,953 participants were included in the analysis. To ensure the highest quality evidence, only studies that met the stringent criteria for the Newcastle-Ottawa scale were included. Moreover, dietary intake was assessed using reliable methods such as food frequency questionnaires, and the analysis employed a very robust statistical approach utilizing random effects model to account for heterogeneity between studies. And the primary outcome of the study was the odds of developing metabolic syndrome Secondary outcomes included the individual components of metabolic syndrome, like obesity, high blood pressure, and low HDL cholesterol. So now, Suleiman, could you please take us through the major findings of the study? What does the study have to add on to the relationship between plant-based diet and metabolic syndrome?
Thank you, Srinidhi. So, as we've already mentioned earlier, that plant-based diets, not all plant-based diets are healthy. So, this meta-analysis and the systematic review will give a better idea of what are the plant-based diet indices and how to implement them. Overall plant-based diet. So, and yes, the results from the meta-analysis were that overall plant-based diet initially. Overall plant-based diet is an overall term which has got both positive and negative contents in it. So when this meta-analysis was done from multiple studies, I think 9 of them were included, there was no significant association between a greater adherence to overall plant-based diets and the odds of metabolic syndrome. This is because there are both healthy and unhealthy plant-based diets included in the overall plant-based diet. So that negates the positivity and the negativity. And there was also a low level of heterogeneity between the studies because this was done by a subgroup analysis, which shows that multiple other factors contribute to this, such as body mass index, the dietary assessment tools, consumption of alcohol, the environmental factors. So multiple of these lead to a minor amount of heterogeneity, which is seen. And it was also seen that or significant association between oral plant-based diet and the elevated fasting blood sugars. However, there was no association between the odds of obesity, hypertriglyceridemia, HDL-C levels, and blood pressure levels. Now we'll move on to the main topic over here, which is the healthy plant-based diets and the unhealthy plant-based diets. As already we've mentioned, the healthy plant-based diets include whole grain foods, legumes, vegetable oils, and all of these. Here, this is the result that we expect from all plant-based diets, but then we forget the type of plant-based diets. So the healthy plant-based diets have produced positive results as seen from this meta-analysis, which shows a significant inverse relation between the odds of metabolic syndrome and development of and the adherence of a healthy plant-based diet. Again, shows a low level of heterogeneity because again, there are multiple factors because not just the diet results in metabolic syndrome, your environmental factors, your other consumption of other stuff such as alcohol is also going to impact you. So we see that there was a inverse relation, and it proves our theory that using a healthy plant-based diet and limiting the unhealthy stuff from a plant-based diet is also going to impact your outcomes such as metabolic syndrome. And there was no significant association between obesity, triglyceridemia, LDL, HDL levels, and blood pressures. We'll move on to the unhealthy plant-based diets. So the unhealthy plant-based diets, we've always forget to discuss this, emphasizing this on much. So that's why we took the beginning of 2025. Let's emphasize on the type of plant-based diets because all throughout we've been telling plant-based diet, plant-based diets. Unhealthy plant-based diets. Multiple things come under unhealthy plant-based diets. We can speak a lot on this, but due to time constraints, we'll limit it to a few examples, such as logical examples where we see multiple refined food items, um, re- highly processed, highly packed foods, which is not really organic, or sold under term of organic, but it's really not organic for us. We fail to introspect into what type of diet this is. So, association between unhealthy plant-based diet and metabolic syndrome was significant. This is where studies have misinterpreted that plant-based diet can lead to metabolic syndrome. So, it is the unhealthy subgroup of a plant-based diet which is leading to metabolic syndrome. And there was a significant amount of heterogeneity we see here because the unhealthy plant-based diet is multiple things can come under this. Multiple environmental factors, the age, region, the type, BMI, and alcohol consumption over here too. So these results were the overall meta-analysis that was done was limited to in bringing in independence of the type of study, the age, gender, dietary assessment tools, and also trying to control for the BMI as a factor. Mm, Next slide, please. Dose response meta-analysis was also performed. So from the first image we see here, I'm sorry for the image being a little too small, but then we don't need the values to be too visible, but we can see the type of the curve over here. So the overall curve is a slant, so which shows the first one is relating the overall plant-based diet and metabolic syndrome. Here, there's not a significant association because both the positivity and negativity is cancelled out, and there's not much association that we see. But then the dose response curve for a healthy plant-based diet follows a U-shaped graph curve over here. So it shows that even a healthy plant-based diet, maybe you're eating the right type of diet, but the amount of diet is also very essential. If you overeat anything, then again it leads to negative outcomes. So the inverse U-shaped ratio is curve is seen over here. The optimum levels of food and the optimum type of food is going to bring in the best positive outcomes that we expect for. And unhealthy plant-based diets, the third image, a direct correlation. You eat less amount of it, you eat more amount of it, you will be seeing the negative outcomes over here. So overall, what you understand is, before Srinidhi, I pass this over to Srinidhi for the in-depth discussion of this study. I would conclude this by saying that we need to introspect into the type of plant-based diet that we eat too. It should not just be that we are eating plant-based diet and we are going to have positive outcomes. Over to you, Srinidhi, so that we can have a better discussion into what are the plant-based diet indices and the impact on the outcomes.
Thank you so much, Suleiman. So, exactly what Suleiman said. It is not about plant-based diet. It's also about healthy and unhealthy plant-based diet that is going to impact, and that is going to, tell us about what result it's going to give. So, this meta-analysis revealed that while high adherence to healthy plant-based diet, the HPDI and the OPDI, which we have been referring, generally lowered the risk of metabolic syndrome. The effect of the OPDI was not statistically significant. Notably, healthy plant-based diet demonstrated a significant risk reduction in younger adults and those with overweight or obesity, although this association was not observed after adjusting BMI and alcohol consumption. Conversely, extreme adherence to an unhealthy plant-based diet was linked to a 27% higher metabolic syndrome risk and increased the risk of obesity, hypertriglyceridemia, and low HDL cholesterol, elevated the fasting blood sugar. Furthermore, while moderate healthy plant-based diet adherence reduces metabolic syndrome risk, extreme adherence may lead to micronutrient deficiencies, particularly calcium, potentially increasing metabolic syndrome risk. So these findings underscore the importance of balanced and moderate adherence to healthy plant-based diet while acknowledging the potential for adverse effects with extreme adherence or in specific subpopulation. So this meta-analysis revealed that the beneficial effect of high adherence to a healthy plant-based diet on metabolic syndrome risk was not pronounced in younger individual, older adults who generally was most, it was most pronounced in younger, while the older adults who generally exhibit healthier dietary patterns showed a less pronounced reduction in metabolic syndrome risk with healthy plant-based dietary index. And notably, the inverse association between the healthy plant-based dietary index and metabolic syndrome risk was significantly attenuated after adjusting for BMI, suggesting that BMI may confound this relationship. Furthermore, alcohol consumption significantly influenced the findings, with excessive intake increasing metabolic syndrome risk and attenuating the protective effect of healthy plant-based dietary index. So moving on, the association between an unhealthy plant-based diet and metabolic syndrome is primarily driven by a higher intake of unhealthy components, like you have the refined grains, added sugars, and trans fat. So this dietary pattern can lead to increased likelihood of obesity, elevated fasting blood sugar, and disrupted lipid metabolism. Conversely, the health benefits associated with healthy plant-based diet, the HPDI and OPDI, stem from reduced intake of unhealthy components and increased intake of beneficial components like your fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts. So these dietary factors contribute to weight management, improved glycemic control, and overall it is also going to reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. And it's crucial to remember that while plant-based diet can offer significant health benefits, it's essential to ensure they are very well balanced and provide adequate intake of essential nutrients. And one more important thing that we need to discuss about plant-based diet is that they demonstrate significant anti-inflammatory properties. High intake of polyphenols abundant in fruits, vegetables, nuts, and olive oil have been shown to reduce inflammatory biomarkers and improve key parameters of metabolic syndrome, particularly HDL cholesterol levels. So these diets promote anti-inflammatory adipokine profile, reducing crucial biomarkers linked to metabolic syndrome, importantly, the anti-inflammatory effects. However, potential deficiencies in essential nutrients like vitamin B12 and omega-3 pure fast and some vegetarian diets may partially offset these beneficial effects as well. So again, we have been carrying out this, JC, for quite a long time, and I think we have already covered every single part of metabolic syndrome. So we have separately discussed about diabetes mellitus, we have separately discussed about cardiovascular diseases. So we have tried to collate everything and present before you the impact of plant-based diet on this each and every component of metabolic syndrome. So if you could see, the evidence provided by Satija et al. Has also said that a positive effect of healthy plant-based dietary index on insulin, improving the insulin sensitivity and decreasing the insulin resistance and the risk of diabetes. Similarly, we have the Adventist Health Study, which has also supported a similar idea. So then you can see here where an increased fruit intake from 95 to 200 gram per day, and increased vegetable intake from 100 to 200 gram per day, and reduced red meat intake from 129 to 53 gram per day is going to improve the plant-based dietary index by 10 units and decrease the risk of type 2 diabetes by around 13%. Similarly, it is also the plant-based dietary diet is going to reduce the risk of CVD, CVD and other coronary heart disease by 8%. And again, most importantly, as we have been discussing throughout this session, the healthy plant-based diet and the unhealthy plant-based diet. If you could see, the healthy plant-based diet is going to reduce the risk of coronary heart disease by 25%, whereas the unhealthy plant-based diet is going to increase the coronary heart disease by around 32%. Similarly, again, we have presented some information, data regarding the efficacy of, or the potential benefit of plant-based diet in improving the lipid profile, increasing the HDL cholesterol, and balancing the LDL cholesterol. So now, when we come to talking about, yes, do plant-based diet have an effect only on health? No. Beyond the significant health benefits for individuals, plant-based diet play a very crucial role in fostering planetary health and environmental sustainability. So animal agriculture is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions, deforestation and water pollution. By reducing or eliminating the consumption of animal products, individuals can significantly lower their environmental impact. So plant-based diet require less land, water, and energy to produce compared to animal-based diet, thus minimizing the strain on natural resources. Moreover, they contribute to reduce deforestation, as less land is needed for grazing and feed production. By embracing plant-based eating, individuals can actively contribute to a more sustainable and environmentally friendly food system, benefiting both human and animals also. So here we have few of the poll questions, and yes, a 35-year-old woman presents the clinic for a routine health checkup. She has a BMI of 28 kg per meter square, blood pressure of 140/90 Hg, and fasting blood glucose of 110 mg per dl. Her lipid profile reveals elevated triglycerides and decreased HDL cholesterol levels. She expresses interest in adopting a healthier diet to improve her overall metabolic health. Based on the findings from the systematic review on the healthy plant-based diet index, which dietary advice would most likely help her reduce her risk of metabolic syndrome? So you can unmute or you can vote in the chat box. Suleiman, could you please help me out with the chat box if they are responding, because I could not see the chat box as I'm sharing the screen.
I'll see.
Yes,
thank you.
Yes,
Yep. I also request the other the polls are also there. So I think we can give it for 1 minute so that everyone can quickly answer this question. And also a few other polls are there in the chat box. So so we'll wait for that.
Sure.
Yes.
So in meantime,
Yes,
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yeah. So in meantime, let's come with some of the key takeaways and what do we conclude from this session. So in conclusion, this review basically provides compelling evidence for the numerous health benefits associated with well-planned plant-based diet. So these diets, which includes vegetables, whole grains, legumes, and nuts, have been shown to contribute to significant improvement in various health outcomes. Also, by emphasizing whole, unprocessed food, plant-based approaches can support weight management, improve blood sugar control, and reduce the risk of chronic diseases such as heart disease, type 2 diabetes, and certain types of cancers as well. While carefully planning and consideration for nutritional needs is essential, incorporating a greater abundance of plant-based food into daily diet offers a very promising path towards improved overall health and well-being of individuals as well as the planets, as we had discussed. I hope they are answering the poll questions, ma'am. So shall I move on to the next question?
Yes, I think it's already the answers are there. You can go ahead.
Yes.
Even few of them answered yes.
So the answer for the next, the poll questions which have been posted, which of the following is not a criterion for metabolic syndrome? High blood pressure, elevated blood sugar levels, low physical activity levels, hypertriglyceridemia. So the answer is C, low physical activity levels. Which plant-based diet index is associated with healthy foods like whole grains and vegetables? So the answer is HPDI, option B. During the systematic review, how many studies were ultimately included in the meta-analysis? So 9 studies were included. The answer is B. Which index shows a significant association with increased odds of metabolic syndrome? It is C. So thank you so much for your patient listening. And finally, here is our takeaway slide. So as you can see, this plate shows a kind of well-planned, balanced plant-based diet. So as we had discussed in the discussion part, that some micronutrients, especially calcium, goes plate. We have a portion of cooked okra, we have a portion of cooked kale, almonds, dried figs, and you can see the amount of calcium in each of these components of this plate. And again, we have broccoli, which has around 47 mg per 100 grams, and we have tofu, which is high protein food, and it has a calcium serving of 282 mg. So we need to be very mindful of planning a plant-based diet so that we don't miss any of the micronutrients as well. So with this, we are ready to take up the questions.
Yes. So we have a question. Over to you, Srinidhi. Since you have mentioned that benefits from the polyphenols that can coffee and the tea consumption impart the benefit in metabolic syndrome?
Yes. So when we talk about tea and coffee, anything taken in moderation can be beneficial. But again, here, what do I mean by coffee and tea is the green tea, black coffee and black tea, not the one which has milk. Given as we have been talking about polyphenols, which are very beneficial in case of metabolic syndrome, coffee, which has caffeine, it has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties and antioxidant properties. And similarly, it is one of the highest among the beverages. Coffee is one of the highest. It has highest antioxidant properties. So taken in moderation, maybe when it comes to coffee, 1 to 3 cups, maximum 5, and when it comes to tea, 2 to 3 cups. And again, what we mentioned here is that it is green tea, black tea, and black coffee. So it could be beneficial. Yes, I hope it answers the question.
Okay. Yes. So one more question, Srinidhi. I think when we follow a plant-based diet, wouldn't it result in a carb-dominant plate?
Yes. So that's a very good question that needs discussion. So when we talk about a plant-based diet, it's not just carbohydrates. It's a wholesome nutrient package, as we have been telling. It has a lot of dietary fibers. It has a lot of antioxidants. It has a lot of protein. It has a lot of protein package. So again, you have something called complex carbohydrates and you have simple carbohydrates. So which is actually detrimental to the health is the simple carbohydrates. And so we usually recommend you all to take a complex carbohydrate. And given that a plant-based diet is a holistic package of nutrients and not just carbohydrates, it does not cause a carb overload.
Yes. So one more question, I think. Suleiman, can you just give some practical implication how we can implement this healthy plant-based diet?
Sure, ma'am. So I think most of us are medicos here, and most of us are in the young age, and we are very much implicated towards using sugary drinks and all of these fried foods, processed foods. So the main thing that we can initially begin with is to start limiting this. And all of us have a desire to eat something, snack onto something, but then we can start it with having nuts or seeds instead of processed foods and sugary drinks and start limiting them. That can be one of the things. And as a whole process in within our families during in houses, we can also start limiting the amount of refined grains and begin using whole grains such as a brown rice. It's a very good thing that we can begin with, and start adding multiple amounts of vegetables, fruits to our food. Use legumes such as lentils, peas, and chickpeas so that it increases the protein content. And I think these will be the few things that we can change, basically beginning from very processed food to fresh food that we can start with.
Yes, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions? I cannot see the chat for any other
Just a
questions.
second. Yes, one like something. What was that? So how does the person put on the weight when there is insulin resistance in the metabolic syndrome? Of course, like see, so increase the maybe one reason is like already it's like a impaired fat breakdown will be there, and also it's because very difficult for the like when it is a high insulin levels, so they are going to promote the fat storage and especially around the abdomen. So that is going to hinder it. That is insulin inhibits the breakdown of the storage of fat. Again, it's going to harder to lose the weight. So that, and also when it is that even the reduced I think even the glucose is efficient use for the energy, so that it can be stored as a fat as well. So I think it answers your question. Hope if anything is need to be added, any
Insulin doesn't prevent lipogenesis, but it actually promotes the lipogenesis. I mean, because
how?
Okay, so during the insulin resistance, imagine it's like a state where the cells are unable, the cells are not properly responding to that particular insulin. So because of which it leads to the visceral fat deposition as well, where the glucose will not be completely utilized by the cells properly. Where one of the major function of the insulin is like a promotion of the lipogenesis. And also when there is insulin resistance, it also starts impacting the hormonal things with respect to the hunger, and also the appetite can also be increased, leading to more caloric intake, and that will also keeps leading to weight gain. And insulin resistance is also like a kind of an inflammatory state, which also leads to this particular obesity. Hope that might answer your question in a simpler format.
Thank you.
Yeah, obesity is one of the state where insulin resistance is predominant. I mean, it is seen in obesity is one of the condition where insulin resistance will be present. More questions, please. Plant-based diet and type 2 diabetes reduction. So I mean, like plant-based diet can function through multiple factors, but one of the major factor that we can discuss about here is like the dietary fiber. If you look at the dietary fiber content, plant-based diet is the one which contains dietary fiber, which is lacking in the animal-based foods. And when it comes to this dietary fiber, it helps in managing our blood sugar levels because whichever the foods that contains plant, dietary fiber, we call them like a complex carbohydrates, which help them to, control. In a simple way, we can say the glucose, instead of running into our blood, it's going to crawl into our blood. So in that way also, it can control the blood sugar spikes. It can help in managing a better glycemic control as well. So one of the factors through which it can be managed is this. And not only that, when we consume fiber-rich foods, it also creates an impact on our gut microbiota as well. So because one of the common feature that will be noticed in type 2 diabetes is gut dysbiosis. So when we start consuming more probiotic and prebiotic rich foods, it helps overcome that particular gut dysbiosis, maintain a good gut bacterial concentration, which can again improve our hormonal functioning and better management of the blood sugar levels as well. Okay, so plant-based diet and appetite relationship is like when we talk about like plant-based diet, the beauty of the plant-based diet is that it gives you less number of calories, but still you can eat more. So because of the dietary fiber content again present in it, so it will be giving you the less number of calories. Since it's also, when again we're talking about the whole food plants, I mean whole plant-based foods, which are rich in dietary fibers and complex foods, complex carbs. So when we consume them, obviously the appetite will be, the appetite will be controlled, or the satiety effect will be much more better when it comes to dietary fiber component that is available in whole plant foods. Yeah, the fiber fullness. Could you please mention about other macronutrient deficiencies like zinc and plant-based diet to overcome it? So yes, with respect to plant-based diet, we have some of the micronutrient deficiencies that are commonly seen, like B12 and all. So B12, it could be iron, it could be calcium. Again, we are not saying that they completely end up in those deficiencies. One most important thing what we have to follow is a better meal planning. So meal planning should be maintained well, or meal planning should be done well, so that we'll be ensuring that we don't end up in such deficiencies. But again, how much ever we do a proper meal planning also, yes, there are certain nutrient deficiencies that we might inevitably end up in. One among them is like B12 and all. So in those cases, we can go for like fortified foods or supplementations. A proper planning can definitely help us overcome that particular micronutrient deficiencies. Okay, relation between plant-based diet and microbiota obesity. Okay, as I've already mentioned, the plant-based diet will help improve our gut microbiota. So because again, the similar thing what I've already mentioned is like plant-based foods are rich in dietary fiber, and specifically if we talk about the soluble dietary fiber or the resistant starch-based foods, which contain, which are considered like a prebiotics. Prebiotics are like a food for the probiotics, so which can help in improving our good gut bacteria. And that will, again, that will have a control on the hormones with respect to our appetite hormones or hunger hormones, which can help in controlling cravings. It could be controlling the caloric intake. And in that way also, it can help in controlling the excess caloric surplus and helping us to maintain a proper weight, if that helps. What are the best calorie-rich foods for type 2 diabetes? Can you be more specific, Dr. Kishore? Like you're asking about for a type 2 diabetic who is looking for a weight gain, or the best foods for type 2 diabetic? If we talk about the best foods for diabetes, we can say like just focus on low GI foods. So a simple mantra or a principle that we can follow with respect to type 2 diabetes is whenever we are planning a meal plate, ensure that we have we are focusing on high amount of low GI foods, moderate amount of, moderate quantity of moderate GI foods, and less quantity of high GI foods. If we try to follow this simple thing, and when we try to distribute more amount of our calories in the first part of the day rather than the later part of the day, and when we try to focus more of our carbs in the first part of our day rather than the second part of the day, it will definitely help us to maintain a better glycemic control. I hope that helps for your question. Any more queries? And in the meanwhile, could you also please share like how you felt about today's session, because this is the session that has been completely taken over by our medical students. It's the first time completely they have taken it on their shoulders and they presented it. So some sort of encouragement will definitely boost them to come up with the following sessions, please. Rich calorie, why we want to give rich calorie diet in DM. So in diabetes mellitus, again, it's not every diabetic client will be requiring a caloric rich diet. So basically for someone who is in the catabolic state, already losing out the weight, so there to help on with a little bit of weight gain or to come back in a normal BMI range, so we can focus on the caloric, high caloric diet, or else we will, depending upon majority of the diabetic clients who are already on the obese side or the overweight side, we need to help them to be on a caloric deficit and help them to lose weight. Thank you so much, Dr. Sushmita. That really means a lot. Yeah, I think yes, Preetham, you can take over, please.
Yes. Thank you, ma'am. I'm audible, right? Yes. Thank you for joining and spending your valuable time with us. So, yes, thank you. Nice session. Thank you. Yes. So if you have any any suggestions for any topic that we would love to hear from you, and also if you think any topic that we need to explore, that it's always welcome. In the next section, even we'll come up with the next section with a good informative topics. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Yes, sure. Thank you.
All right,
yes,
thank you so much.
Yes,
the session, we'll be meeting with an other interesting session in March. Thank you so much.
Thank you.